By the end of the Peloponnesian War, the city of Corinth had established itself as both a naval power and as a dominant city in mainland Greece. However, things were beginning to change in the Greek world, and the previous warring years would pale in comparison to the bloodshed that was about to be spilt in ancient Greece. Welcome to part 2 of the history of the city of Corinth. So, following the long and bloody Peloponnesian War, Sparta had asserted itself as the main land power on ancient Greek soil. Now, this began to present a whole series of problems, as the ancient Greeks like their freedom, and they like to make a big fuss of their freedom. So, in 395 BC, the Thebans and the Athenians, as well as the Argives, decided to rise up against Spartan hegemony in ancient Greece. Joining them, surprisingly, was Sparta's long-term ally and member of the Peloponnesian League, the city of Corinth. Now, these allies were backed by an unlikely source of income, specifically the Persian Empire. Now, a few decades prior, the Persians had attempted to invade mainland Greece and had been soundly defeated by both the Athenians and Spartans at multiple engagements, such as the Battle of Marathon between the Athenians and the Persians, and Thermopylae and Plataea between the Spartans and Persians. So, now greatly humbled by the fact that they had been defeated by such a small collection of city-states, the Persian kings now meddled in Greek affairs, hoping to keep them in check by turning them against each other. As such, the Persians supplied the allies with a large quantity of gold, which they used to fund their war efforts. Now, to begin with, the war began quite well for the allies, as they had this unlimited resource of money from the Persians. So, the Spartans look at this and decide the best way to defeat this alliance would be to get the Persians to turn sides. And eventually, in 386 BC, Sparta succeeds and uses the funds received from Persia to fund their own war effort. This eventually results in Sparta winning the war. This war would become known as the Corinthian War and would see Sparta victorious. However, the Spartan power was so diminished that they were eventually ousted by the Thebans for the hegemonic title of the leader of the Greek city-states. So, as you can see, the Greeks again immediately began to turn on each other, each vying for control over the Greek world. Now, nothing quite unites the Greeks like a foreign invader, and this foreign invader would be Phillip of Macedon. Now, Phillip viewed himself as a Greek. He had, after all, grew up in the city of Thebes as a political hostage. So, when Macedon was being viewed as a backwater and barbarous tribe by the Greeks, it made Phillip very angry because he thought his people were more than equal to the Greeks. So, after a period of Greekifying the Macedonian kingdom, as well as carrying out various military reforms, Philip eventually invaded classical Greece, and this united the cities of Thebes, Athens and Corinth to essentially repel the invasion. This didn't exactly go to plan, as Philip and his son Alexander defeated both Corinth, Thebes and Athens at the Battle of Chaeronea, thus securing Macedonian hegemony over the Greek world. So what Philip does after this is he establishes a league of Greek city-states. Now, this league was stationed in the city of Corinth and became known as the League of Corinth. So the purpose of this league was to unite Greece against a common enemy, which was the Persian Empire, as the Greeks had still not forgotten how the Persians had invaded mainland Greece all those decades earlier. Now, Philip had already sent a small army into Asia Minor to secure a beachhead for the Greek Macedonian army that was to follow. However, he would be assassinated and his young son Alexander would take up the throne, and he eventually led the Greeks and Macedonians to basically the end of their known world. He took them as far as India. So during this time, Alexander left a region to essentially keep the Greeks in check. This region was called Antipa. Now, Antipa would later play a very pivotal role when Alexander died. He eventually managed to become regent of the entire Macedonian Empire, only to die himself afterwards. Now, Antipa had a son. This son was called Cassander. Cassander, in lack of better words, can be described as a right nasty piece of work, and he eventually became the governor of his father's former power base of Macedon and Greece. During this time, Cassander managed to murder the entirety of Alexander's family, which eventually allowed him to assume the kingship. During his kingship, he continued to murder and plot his way to various other schemes, and he somehow died of natural causes. How he wasn't assassinated is honestly beyond belief. So following his death, Greece and Macedon came under the rule of the Antigonids, and Corinth would become an essential city under Antigonid rule, being the main Antigonid power base in the classical Greek world. However, the crazy times of ancient Greece were not over yet. If anything, they were about to become even crazier. And once again, at the heart of all this madness would be the city of Corinth, which would play a vital role in the history to come. Thanks for watching and listening to our video. If you like the channel, consider subscribing to Ancient History Guy. Or, if you really like the channel, head on over to our Patreon feed. There, for as little as $1 a month, you can gain access to exclusive documentaries, behind-the-scenes footage, and videos before they're live on YouTube. All sources are listed and linked in the description below. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I've been the Ancient History Guy, and as always, I'll be seeing you later.